Howdy, Saxophone Geeks. Welcome to Saxophone Geek. Today I don't have a horn in my hands. We're going to talk about a mouthpiece, which I stupidly almost just dropped just now. Hey, be careful. Welcome to the show. Today we're going to talk about a old brass mouthpiece. Don't know if this is really special at all in any way. Picked this up a couple years ago. I've played it a little tiny bit. It is a 6. We'll talk more about it. I'm going to take the plunge and have this refaced by Eric G. out. I guess he's in Chicago. A friend of mine suggested him, and I've heard of him many times over the years, but I've never worked with him on any mouthpieces. So we're going to take a look at this a little more closely, what it needs, what we hope for it, what we can actually expect, and how to manage our expectations with how it's going to play. So let's take a look. All right, so to go over this kind of quickly, this is a Otto Link made many years ago. It has the longer shank on it. It does in fact say USA, okay, but it has the small number 6, and it has the full width tip at the end. What does this tell us? Well, geez, I don't know. I'm not really an expert. I think that means that this is a Florida Link that may have been finished that was probably cast in Florida, and then when it was bought out, it was moved. So maybe this is a late Florida or an early Babbitt, but the early Babbitts have the bigger number, and they have the wider tip. So someone might say that this really is a proper Florida. Doesn't matter to me that much. I just like how the older mouthpieces feel. They're a little heavier. They feel different ergonomically when you're playing them, in the mouth, as it were. And then the sound that they sort of get. This mouthpiece has a lot of problems. Let's talk about that. I bought this on a whim on eBay. I got it. I'm under 500 for this. I think I paid probably $460 something with shipping for this, which is a pretty good deal, but it's super worn out. I personally believe this is the original facing that has never been worked on, but there's no way to know that, and it doesn't even matter. We'll talk about why. So one of the things I want to have this turned from a 6, sorry, it's hard for you to see that. I want it to go from a 6 to maybe a 7 or a 7 star. I don't want to go too far. When you reface a mouthpiece like this, one of the problems is that the bite plate is recessed into the mouthpiece, and so the more work you do here, the more you are likely to get through and cause an opening. You basically get down to where the bite plate is. As you can see, it's pretty far down there. It's really not good to have these mouthpieces refaced over and over and over again. You really want to, even if it's beat up, you want to find one that hasn't been messed with too much. One of the things we're looking for is the baffle, to have some of the baffle material here, because if it's been worked on and they removed any of that, that's half the point of these earlier Otto Links is that in the 60s is that they have a little more baffle material here. You can see that right there. I grabbed something to point with. Let me show you what I'm talking about. But you can see the light move, and this is the baffle right here, right there. You see how that goes? You can see the shadow. This is your baffle right here, this material here. So you want to maintain that. When they do the refacing, you pull the mouthpiece this way, so you actually have the opportunity to put in to leave a little more baffle exposed as you do the work. But I don't think this mouthpiece, for me personally, doesn't need to be brighter. I just want it a little more open, and I want it to play nicely with a reed. We're looking for reed friendliness, and part of the reason that is a problem on old mouthpieces because they just get worn out, and you can even see it in the light here. If we look at the two rails, if I hold this piece of wood straight across, you can see the light area here is higher up on this side than it is on this side. You can see that. And what we're looking at is when they reface, you want to get all these even so that it's even all the way up. The other problem this particular mouthpiece has is you can see the tip rail is out here. It's about as thick as it is here, but it's not. You can see that it's only the fine outer edge is actually flush. You could see the dark line here. See this dark line? That's the actual tip rail, but it's not even, and it only comes flush at the very end. So these are all the things that make an old mouthpiece not play that great. Old mouthpiece. It's only a 6, which is a whole size smaller than how I like. And then of course it's sort of worn out. It does play. It's a little hard with a loud drummer. You end up pushing a little too hard. But it's got that sort of quaint old mouthpiece quality. If you dig Dexter Gordon, if you dig 50s Sonny Rollins, if you dig Sonny Stitt and early Coltrane and some of Wayne Shorter, who doesn't Wayne all of Wayne Shorter? I don't mean that, but I mean this mouthpiece, because it's a smaller opening, lends itself to an older sound, in my opinion. And that being said, having this opened up to a 7 or a 7 star is going to change how it plays. It's unreasonable to expect this to sound even remotely the same as it did before once it's been refaced. Let's talk about that. If you've seen my other series on refacing mouthpieces, I don't do any of this work. It's a very highly skilled craft. You could learn how to do it, but just like playing, there are some people that are going to have a very natural talent for it, and there are other people that will have to work at it. So it's important when you're having a mouthpiece worked on to understand that all of these tolerances, all the little tiny differences, how the rail numbers are, there's numbers to all this. The way it all ends up being set up, these tiniest little difference makes it feel different to a player. So if you have a mouthpiece changed quite drastically, then it's reasonable to think that it's going to play very differently, and it will. And so that's what you're trying to understand about this process, is that you're taking an old mouthpiece. We call them blanks, just an old mouthpiece to have worked on. Technically, a blank is a mouthpiece after it's been cast or cut before it's been worked on. But this isn't a mouthpiece I play, so to me it's a blank to have worked on. What would a refacer do with this? Well, I plan to send it to the guy. He's nice enough to take the work on, and I appreciate it. And he's going to get it back to his shop, and he's going to look at it. He's going to say, well, I like this, and I like this. I'm going to fix this. I'm going to work on that. Take your measurements. See what you get, right? And then they send it back. My parameter is I like a bit of a shorter facing. The mouthpiece is flat all the way up to about here, and this is where your facing begins. And how far it stays flat is your facing length. Some people like the curve to begin back here. Some people like it here. Some people like it even shorter. A guy like Lenny Pickett, who plays 3 octaves above the saxophone range. You know him from Saturday. He's the Saturday Night Live guy. From what I've heard, he plays a very short facing to help him get all that stuff. And I like a bit of a shorter facing on tenor. And part of it is because I'm an alto player, I think. And so one of my instructions will be, hey, do what you think with the piece. I like a little bit of a shorter facing. Helps me with the altissimo notes. And that's what I found out from buying the Morgan. I mean, it's good to know that, right? I bought that Morgan in February, and I liked everything about it except the altissimo notes. Longer facing made the mouthpiece overall play easier, but the altissimo notes were too difficult. And so you live and learn, but that's good because that helps me apply that to what I'm hoping to get out of this mouthpiece. So I'm going to play the mouthpiece first. I'm going to record a little bit with it, and so that we can do a back and forth on it and see what it plays like before and after. I know it's going to play different. I have a feeling it's going to play way better, especially because we're looking to get it closer to the size that I'm used to, around 7 or so. So let's go ahead and play it with a couple of reeds and give you an idea of what it sounds like right now. All right, literally haven't played this mouthpiece in 3/4 of a year. This is the 3.5 Boston Sax Shop reed. I like that reed on it. Let's try something else. All right, this is the number 4 Boston Sax Shop. That's a little better. A little edgy, I don't know if I like it. Yeah, it just doesn't blow easy. It's got so many problems with it. Let's try it with a Java 4. All right, here's one of the Java 4s. What a difference. Same sound qualities, still got that edge over the top, which I'm not a huge fan of. I might ask him to dial that back a little bit. The problem with that is that if you ask him to make it darker, you can't ever put that material back on. The way you make a mouthpiece warmer or richer or darker is to remove baffle. So that, I mean, that defeats the purpose of... So anyway, that's the part of the conundrum with doing this. If you say to the guy, it's too bright, I want it a little darker, he takes that material off and you don't like it, then you're screwed. So that's where you got to be careful with how much you ask for, because there's a limit to what you can accomplish. At least that reads soft enough to get some width. Let's try a different one. Yeah, that's weird right there. Also, I mean, I'm not going to be able to play this like I play the soloist, even if... they're totally different pieces, so it's not even like you can't really switch back and forth objectively. There's something nice about that. There's something to it. Let's try another one. This is kind of not a good reed, but it takes away that edginess. But you want this mouthpiece to sound good with the good reeds. So, let's see. We'll try one more and I'll do closing remarks. All right, so we're hoping to find it a little more reed friendly. We're hoping to find it not too bright. Hoping to find it a little more open so that I don't have to hold back. I really feel like it's just a 6. I'm going to have to hold back to keep it from breaking up or just playing out of tune. So we're going to see when we get it back. He said it takes several weeks, which actually is kind of quick. I've worked with guys, it takes half a year or more to get your shit back. So we'll see what happens. It'll be interesting to see the result, how it plays on the other side. And then by the time I get it back, I'll be playing all different reeds. There's no way to really objectively try any of this, but I appreciate you watching. I certainly find it fun to do. So this is the possibly Florida link that we're going to have refaced. So the next video will be about what this plays like when we get it back. We'll take a look at it and we'll take a listen. So thanks for watching. Saxophone Geek. Yeah.